Hey guys, Mistik here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different from the normal content, and we're going to be doing a tier list on the best super rare items in Graal Era. On this site here, I've got about 82 different super rare items. This pretty much covers every super rare in the game, other than just a couple few that I couldn't get the PNG files for. We're going to have to wait and see how this turns out by the end of the tier list, so make sure you guys stay and watch, and let's get into it. Starting off, we got the Aqua Blade. This is a 10 damage weapon. It doesn't really have much else going for it, as I'm not a giant fan of its graphics or anything, but it does have that cool little water clone thing, so I gotta put it in B tier, as it is a pretty formidable weapon. Onto the Bamboo Rod. Again, this is a pretty boring weapon. It does have a nice unsheath animation and such, so I am gonna put it in D tier, but it really doesn't have that much going for it. Next up is Beaver Hammer. This is one of those items that is like super rare and super expensive, but honestly for no reason other than it just being rare. So I'm going to put it in D tier. Next up we have the Black Cape. This is a very unique weapon. There is barely any other items in the entire game that actually do what this weapon does, as it does heal when you're just walking around with it, as opposed to actually having to use an ability. This is a really cool and unique weapon. It looks good, so I'm going to put this one in B tier. Next up is the Blood Blade. If you guys know me at all, I absolutely love the Blood Blade. I think it's one of the best items in the game. 9 damage, healing when kills, and the Shadow Mode. It's got to be putting it in S tier because of that. Next up is the Bolt Wand. I'm a pretty big fan of the Bolt Wand. It is pretty boring. It doesn't really have much going for it. I do like the way that it changes colors when you attack with it, but other than that, it's pretty lame. So I think I'm going to put it in C tier. Next up, we got one of those OG items. We got a Bone Trash Pick. This is probably one of my favorite trash picks, as it is pretty unique, but it doesn't really look like it'd pick up trash anyways, so I'm going to put it in D tier. We got the Bunny Hammer. Honestly, this is one of the most boring items in the game, and its price definitely does reflect that, as it's sometimes hovering around even 5k, which is very low for a super, so I'm going to have to put it in F tier. Next up is the Choco Dagger. Again, this is another one of those old but boring but nostalgic weapons, so it does have a little bit of value to it. And it is personally one of my favorite and closest to my heart, so I'm going to put it in C tier. Next, we got the Chainsaw. Now, this is one of the only weapons in the game that deals 15 damage, so it definitely has a place in its own. Also, it's very unique, very good graphically, and honestly, it has a lot of history in Graal, so I think I'm going to put it in A tier. Moving on to the Cigar Trash Pick. I'm not a big fan of the Cigar Trash Pick. It's kind of boring. It doesn't really look that good, so I'm going to put it in F tier, as it is one of my least favorite of the super trash picks. Next up is the Crayon. This is one of the best trash picks. I remember that when this one was released, everybody wanted one of these. It had the invisibility glitch, so it's got a good history. I think I'm going to put it in C tier. This is one of the new weapons, Cryo Blade, I believe it is. This one dropped super fast, especially in consideration to like the Inferno Blade and such. So I definitely going to put it probably D tier. It's got some good to it, but it really isn't anything special. We got the Elite Blade, which is another one of my favorites, actually, at least from the OG Supers. I love just its graphics and how unique it looks and the way you hold it, so I'm going to put that one in B tier. Next, we got the Winter Staff. This is one of my least favorite items, actually. It's really good. It has the heal capabilities, but it's obviously the worst heal staff, so I think that makes it have to go in D tier, even though it is pretty useless, or useful. Next up is the Chaplain. Again, this is one of those 10 damage weapons, very fast, has the Electrify ability. I think this is probably the best one out of all of them, so I'm going to put it in A tier, as it's just the best of the best for what it does. Next up is the Giant Lollipop, which is an amazing weapon. It's unfortunate that you don't see a lot of these around trade tables anymore, but obviously they're super rare, super old. So I'm going to put that one in A tier, as it is pretty cool. As the first umbrella that we're going to be looking at is the Jenny umbrella. This is not really my favorite. I do like the fact that it's more unique than the other umbrellas, so for that I'm going to put it in C tier, but overall it's just not really my style. We got the Lolo Hammer. Now this one obviously has a great history if you've been playing Graal for a long time, as it was one of those really lucrative admin items until it was finally auctioned. So I do really like the way it looks. It says Lolo. It's just a really nice weapon, so I'm going to put that in B tier. Now we're on to the creme de la creme of items in Graal, in my opinion. This was once a really rare Ultra. Now it is, just considered a normal super, but it still has a really big place in my heart, so I'm going to put the Panda Hammer in S tier. For the next trash pick, we're going to be having the Pen TP. This is highly regarded as the best and rarest trash pick, although it is kind of falling from grace right now, as the Horde has been released, which wasn't by me, by the way. Overall, though, it is probably one of my favorite trash picks, so I'm going to put it, we'll put it in B tier. Next up, we got the Skate TP. Now, this is probably the best trash pick in my opinion, but that's only because it has, extra functionality in that you can ride it and such. And it just looks really cool. Everybody loves these. We're going to put it in A tier. So now it looks like we're onto the umbrellas, and I think this is where it's going to get a little bit controversial, as everybody loves umbrellas, everybody has their favorite color, but we're going to have to make some hard decisions here. So for the gold umbrella, honestly, this is one of the shiniest, best-looking umbrellas. It has a different handle on it, which makes it a little bit more unique than the other ones, but it is still just a gold umbrella. I'm not really sure if it's my favorite color, so I'm going to put that one in B tier. As for the summer flower umbrella, this one might be a little bit controversial, but I don't really like this umbrella. I think it's really cool. I get why people are always into it, but I'm going to put it in C tier. As for this summer umbrella, this is F tier. Why is that even considered a nice umbrella? I'm not even sure what they were thinking. Like, comparatively to the flower umbrella, it's just really ugly. Blue umbrella, B tier for blue. It's just honestly as good and as shiny as the gold umbrella, so I think it would probably be there anyways. Green, we'll do C. I don't think green's like as nice as blue and gold, but it does have a good glimmer on it. I am a big fan. Pink umbrella, I think I'd also put it in there. It doesn't have the shine that those umbrellas have, but the matte color looks pretty good anyways. Black umbrella, D tier. It's just not that great. I'm really unsure why it's the most sought after item in the entire game, but that's how it's going to be with umbrellas in Graal. Purple umbrella, probably B tier as well with the golds and the blues, to be honest. Red A tier, white A tier. These are my two favorite umbrellas. I think they look the best. The white umbrella is just so much different from the other umbrellas in my opinion, but it really isn't that much different. Still an umbrella, but those are definitely two A tier umbrellas in my opinion. Next up, we have the wizard staff. This one is one of my personal favorites as well. I'm going to put it S tier. I think a lot of people would disagree with that, but when you kind of take a look at how unique this weapon is, I think it does stand out from the rest of them. Just the ability to fly, the particles around you, and it was really cool when it first came out. It was definitely one of the supers that everybody wanted to have. Onto the cat melee. This one, I feel like it's good in concept, and everybody liked it when it came out, but it really has been drugged through the dirt lately. It's only like 30k now, so I'm going to put it in D tier, even though it is pretty cool. Marsh Dagger, F tier. I'm not really a fan of the candy melees. I think the Marsh is pretty good, but it doesn't really have the sentimental value that the Choco has for me, so I can't put it any higher than the F tier. As for Magma Axe, if you guys know me, you know I like the Magma Axe. It's probably my mascot weapon at this point since I got rid of Rainbow Umbrella, so I'm going to put it in S tier. I think it is one of my favorites, so I got to put it there. Next up, we got the Paladin Staff. This is one of those highly regarded heal staffs just because of how much cool graphical stuff it has with its heal and its attacks. It's just very over the top and a good show-off weapon overall. I do think it's kind of dropped in popularity lately, so I'm going to put it in B tier. It is one of the best heal staffs, but it's nothing compared to the Rage Blade, which we have up next. I think this is A tier. Throughout everything that's ever happened, even with better weapons being released, the Rage Blade has kept its value, which just shows how much people like the graphical style of it. This was a great time when these weapons came out, so I definitely think it deserves A tier. Fish Slap, F tier. I'd almost put it in D tier just for the joke value, but honestly, I'm not a fan of like the Lechantla or the Fish Slap type items, so I'm going to put it in F tier. Future Katana, this is one that I was pretty big on when it came out, and I definitely did a hoard of one of these once because I saw the value in it, so I'm going to put it in C tier. It's nothing over the top, it's nothing special, but I do think it's a pretty solid item. Next up, G-Hammer. This doesn't really do much. It's the exact same thing that the Bunny Hammer does, so I don't really think it deserves a lot of praise. I feel like I'd put it in D tier. I don't think it's as bad as the Bunny Hammer is, because it's got that clean, OG-looking style to it, but it definitely isn't deserving any higher than that. Onto the Green Drag. This is a really cool weapon. It's really unfortunate that this was 7 damage, but it is super unique. Kind of goes into the same style section of the game where the Rage Blade and like Layered Sword is released, so I'm going to put it in C tier because I do kind of enjoy it. Guardian Trash Pick. This one's one of the new ones that nobody really talks about anymore. It's really cool, it's unique, but it's still a trash pick, so I'm going to put it in D tier. Next up, we got the Hard Axe. I feel like everybody hates this weapon. I hate this weapon. We'll go into F tier. It's sometimes only worth like 3,000 shells, which shows why it deserves to be an F tier. Ice Blade. This is another one I don't like. I'm going to put this one in F tier. It's just one of those old supers that's kind of just been thrown under the rug as all these newer, cooler supers have come out. Vanilla, same idea, honestly, with the candy supers. They're just kind of out in the past, and they just don't really hang up to the other cool weapons that we have now. Paper pickaxe, again, doesn't really do much. It works the same way as a G hammer, but it's a little bit cooler, so I'm going to put it in D tier. Next up, we got the Inferno Blade. I don't really know much about this weapon, actually. I haven't really seen it around. I don't think anybody's a super big fan of it, so I'm going to put it in D tier. It's never really impressed me at all. The Inferno Slayer, this is the weapon that I just did a video on, and I had really huge and good reviews about it, so I think I'm going to put that at A tier. Sorry about the picture. They didn't actually have a Graal PNG file for it, so I had to make it myself, but that's what happens. Next up, we got the Kenshi Katana. This is, again, one of my favorite weapons. This is from that Rage Blade era where they just made a bunch of really good supers. So I'm going to have to put this one in B tier. Next up, we got the Lechantla. Again, same thing I said with the Fish Slap. It's not really my favorite. It doesn't look super good, so I'm going to put it over there. Layered Dagger, another one of those admin items that seem to get released later on. I think this one was with Timo when he was a admin. I'm going to put it in D tier. Doesn't really do much for me. Layered Sword, I can't talk about it enough, but that Rage Blade era was the best. I'm going to put Lay Sword in there as well. Monkey Melee, same issue that I feel like the Cat Melee had. People just aren't as into these as I think people expected them to. So I'm going to put this one in C tier because I do think it's pretty cool that it heals. But other than that, it doesn't really deserve much. Next up, we got the Nature Axe. This one is really cool. It's unfortunate that it didn't come with a heal or anything, so it is just kind of a basic super. But the graphics are really nice, so I think that's going to land it in C tier. Next up, we got the Neutron Dagger. This one does come with a hat. I'm not really sure if it really has, like, that much pizzazz to it, honestly. I think people get pretty bored with it, so I'm going to put it in D tier. Another similar one with the hat included is the Neutron Fists. I think this one does a lot better than the other weapons, like the Nuclear Dagger. So I'm going to put it in B tier, because I do see a lot of demand for this thing. Neutron Katana. I know people are really into this weapon. I'm going to put it in A tier. It's just really unique. It really stands out from the crowd. It's got great, clean animation, so I'm going to put it there. Paintbrush Trash Pick, D tier. Not really much explanation needed. It's not that great, but it's not really an F tier item. Pencil. I think this is one of those highly requested TPs that people really enjoy, so I'm going to put it out in the C tier. Pickaxe. Another really boring one. I do like the additions that it's made over the last couple years, like changing the graphics of it and changing the animation, so I'm going to put that one in D tier. Next up is the Pink Sapphire Dagger. Very boring. It's another Jenny item. I'm going to put it in F tier. Same with the Plunger. It's just kind of lame. Rainbow Skate TP. I'm going to put this one in A tier. Part of me wants to put it in S tier. I don't think it quite deserves S tier in my opinion, but it is very similar to the Skate Trash Pick. I think it's even a little bit cooler. I'd put it like right in between S and A tier. But overall, pretty good item. Recon. This is definitely the nicest available hat from buying a super. It's better than the Neutron Dagger. It's better than the Nuclear Fists in my opinion. I'm going to put it B tier. I think the item's not as good as the Neutron Fists, but it does have a really nice hat. Red Drag, same thing as the Green Drag. Obviously a little bit more rare, but doesn't really provide much more value, to be honest. Rose Staff, boring. I don't even know if we consider that item a super anymore, but that's how it goes. SPD Fart, not my favorite. I'm honestly going to put it in an F tier. I don't like it. I think it's a little bit weird. It's nothing compared to the Super Fart. It's not the OG version, so I'm going to put it over there. Skull Juggle, also F tier. It's really not that great. Spear TP, also F tier. Again, there's just a lot of items out there that don't quite compare to the new items, but they still do have that OG flavor. Super Fart, C tier. Again, not my favorite item in the world. It doesn't have much uses, but it is pretty cool. It is very rare and very old, so I think it deserves to be in C tier. Next up is the Syringe. This one's a little bit nicer of a trash pick. I'm going to put it in D tier, but overall it still doesn't really deserve much. Taco Hammer, another boring one. I do enjoy it. I do think it's a pretty cool weapon, but I am going to put it in C tier as it doesn't really have a lot of pizzazz to it. Templar Dagger, I think this is an underrated item. I'm going to put it in B tier just because it has like such cool animations when you attack, and it just has a really good vibe to it. Thermo TP, F tier, nobody likes it. Moving on to the Thunderblade. I think this one's a little bit of a wild card. Not a lot of people talk about it. It's pretty rare. Nothing has really happened with it. Like, it's not really being auctioned that often. But it does have some really cool animations, and like you can fly with it. So I'm going to put it in A tier, actually. It does a lot better than the Inferno Blade counterpart when they released them. Toy Bat, D tier. It doesn't do much, but man, everybody loves a good Toy Bat, so we got to put it up a tier. Toy Hammer, another really good item that just doesn't really do much, unfortunately. I'm going to put it in D tier because it is a little bit cooler than some of the F tier items. Turkey Chunk, I'm going to put this one F tier. I like its animation, but other than that, it doesn't really bring much to the table. Vine Whip, I remember when this one came out, everybody was super excited because it was so unique, but it unfortunately didn't really hold its value. I'm going to put it D tier because it is unique, but other than that, it doesn't really deserve much more. Wind Dagger, I think honestly the same idea, but this one didn't even come out of the gates being like 100k. Very cool item, deserves to be in D tier though. And the final item is the Zodiac. This item is new. This item has so many cool features, powers, 9 damage, or I think it's actually 10 damage. Obviously not fast like the Chaplain, but still a great weapon. Comes with that heal, and it just looks so cool. It's not quite a Bloodblade, but I think I'm going to put it in B tier. And that's all of the items in the tier list. So you guys will do a quick scan here so you guys can see where I put them. Obviously, these are just my opinions, but I have been playing this game a long time. I've amassed a lot of opinions about these items, you know, how they performed as I've been reviewing them, or just, you know, how the items' price has gone and how much people have enjoyed them. So I think this is a pretty good tier list. Obviously, I'm biased in some of the items like the Wizard Staff. But overall, I think this pretty much outlines, you know, what super items are good and which super items are bottom of the barrel in the F tier. Other than that, that's going to be the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting down below what you think of this tier list. If you guys would change anything, I'd love to hear it. If you guys disagree, agree, comment down below. And that's going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.